Hello and welcome to another Sonic Lab. Today we're looking at something a bit different. This is the box for the new Korg MS20 Kit. Now this is a limited edition, full-size recreation of the legendary classic, obviously following on from the MS20 Mini, which was you've seen the full review for. I'm perhaps not going to review the synthesizer itself, but more the process in the kit. This is serial number 00465 of 1,000 only made, so I'm very privileged to get this. Of course, having built it, there's no way it's going to fit back in the box, so I'm hoping that you know, logistics will basically force me to hang on to this. But just in case, for reference, we've got my original MS20 Mini, MS20 over here, which is a classic, rather beaten up thing that's been used on many of my workings over the years. Now, the thing about this is it's got two filter types, because apparently over the years there was a Rev 1 and a Rev 2. The initial Korg filter, MS20 filter, was using something that's called the Korg 35 chip, which is apparently a bit bolder, more brasher. Then later on it came, it was revised to the LM13600. Now, I don't know this information, very much thanks to Tim Stinchcombe, who basically wrote a report on the differences between the filter. So, let's make it. Ready? Nice, comes with a few original patch cords there. Look at those. A good thing to do when you're doing anything like this is get some containers to put screws in, because otherwise they'll all fall over the place and you'll never find them. So back in one sec. Right, so one trip to the kitchen sink. I've got some Tupperware here, so I'm just going to put the screws in this one. There we go. Sorry. With the labels. Good plan. Okay, so now I need to screw this guy basically in first. Right, so what's next? Attaching the VR circuit board large to the front panel and included nuts C. What this means is, you know, by bolting all of these to the front panel, we're pretty much guaranteed a fairly robust and snug fit. It's where you sort of want a tool that will just whiz through it. Unfortunately, there is no such thing. So this may take a while. So talk amongst yourselves. Phew. Now I'm certainly glad there is only one way for this to go on, because I would hate to have to unscrew all of those and put it on a different way. Right, so what's next? Worth mentioning here that there's paper on the underside of this spanner here, which means that you're not going to scratch your front panel, which is a nice touch, and considering it's only one of 1,000 made. Page 10, right, now installing the spacer sheet, which is this guy here. So I think this has to go over the circuit board. To fit onto here by the looks of things. I'm guessing what that does is make sure the LEDs are set in place, and so nothing can wiggle around and it all fits in the main template. Right, I've done that. Secure all of the jacks with nuts A. So right, okay, so I'm guessing what I have to do is I have to probably, if I go down here, bolt this on with one set of nuts and then bolt it onto the front panel with another set of nuts, giving it sort of double thickness. So once again, I think this might take a moment. So make a cup of tea or something, virtually. I'll be back after this short time-lapse segment. got to do is tighten them up. This is going to be very solid. I mean, these ain't going to be going anywhere, that's for sure. Double bolted. Oh, you have no idea how good that's. I feel like a real sense of achievement is there. Because that is probably one of the most tedious, repetitive jobs I've done for a long time. But it's all going to be worth it, because at the end of it, I'm going to have a beautiful, full-size scale working MS20. At least I certainly hope so, because if it doesn't work... So while we've got the circuit board exposed here, let's take a look at what's going on here. First of all, we've got the two filter types, which we can switch between these two jumpers. So just moving it across one pin goes between the early and late type. One thing I've been really interested in is pulse width modulation, because there is a knob for it, but there's no modulation. Now it looks here that there are points on the circuit board for pulse width modulation, jack, switch, in, and ground. I mean, I don't know what you'd have to do to make those work, but I'm guessing there's probably something that can be done, because I remember on the actual mod on the original required some additional electronics, so maybe this is a shortcut to that. We've also got VCO1 out, separate. It looks like we've got separate high pass and low pass and high pass filter outputs that we can get to. There's various different points on the VCA here that come in. Another thing that's very interesting is VCO1 sync out, VCO2 sync in. So it looks like we might be able to achieve, with some more modifications, oscillator sync, which is something that we've never been able to do on the MS. Down here we've got VCO mod in. So that's a separate modification, modulation. Now, you know, I don't know what you'd have to do for all of this stuff, but I'm guessing that this does open things up a little bit. So I'm hoping some of you bright sparks out here might actually already get to that. And in fact, this may be available also on the mini circuit board. We don't know. So now here's the moment of truth. Now I've got to power it on to see whether or not all this actually comes together as a single device. Before I do, I'll just say I haven't screwed all the screws in because I want to be able to get to the back. A bit more on that later. Feels slightly less sturdy than the original MS, I would say, but you know, only in terms of perhaps the kind of clunkiness of the knobs and what have you, because I mean you feel that and it's just solid, whereas these are much newer. You don't get that same sort of mechanical clunk, clunk, clunk like you do on there. But to all intents and purposes, that's what we have here. So right, let's switch it on. Ready? 3, 2, 1, go. Lights are on, so let's turn the power up. I'm going to come round and let's see what happens. Need to bring some. Plug it in. Got a cable here. That'll be the next thing. Right, let's see whether it... there we go, there's the screaming filter. Oh, that's interesting. There's a bit of a thud when I switch octaves on this one. I wonder if that's the same on the other. Yeah, there's a bit of thunk on those switches, but to all intents and purposes, that is a working MS20. Now, the next thing that we obviously, and you are going to want to know is, you know, I'm not going to review the thing because I've done that with the MS20 Mini and we know what they sound like pretty much. What I want to do is take a listen to the two different filter types. Now, clearly, to do that, I'm going to have to take the back off, move the jumpers, to put the back on again. So what we're going to try and do is get together a mod. So Andy, our resident electronics expert, he's going to take a look at the jumpers at the back, and then hopefully the next thing we'll have is a lead with a switch on it that we can then switch between the filter types. Obviously I don't think Korg are going to be very excited about the prospect of me drilling holes in the case here, so I have to figure out a way to get the wires out, but that's what we're going to do next, and then perhaps we'll take a listen to it, compare it to this MS20. So here we have a special doodah. This is a wire that Andy made. This is basically came out of an old computer. We've got a little circuit board mount 3-pin connector, 3 wires, and then this is a single pole double throw switch. So we'll be able to select between the filters. This basically goes onto the connector inside the unit. And now what I'm going to do is put the case back on and have it sort of hanging out like this, and then I'll be able to switch filters without having to take it apart. So here we are. I've set the MS20 up. We've also got the little flyer cable, which has got the early and late filter. I'm not going to review the whole thing, but let's take a listen to the 2 filters. So I've just got a pair of sawtooth waves here. I'm on the early filter, no resonance. Switch it to the late filter. Can't really hear that much difference. Back to the early one. Now if I bring the resonance in and then switch to that's the late filter. It's interesting, it's got a sort of slightly smoother sound. If I start to bring the resonance right up, this is there we go, it starts to get that classic MS20. This is the early filter. We go to the late filter. Early, late. So there is a difference. Thankfully, there is a difference because we patched it all in, so the switch works, and it's nice to hear. It's as described. The early filter, which is the Korg 35 chip, is angrier and more sort of excessive, shall we say. Let's try it. Just try it again on the high pass filter as well. So this. More resonance. That's what we're used to hearing from the Korg MS20. A bit more extreme. I'll flip it to the late filter. Early. You can hear it's got this kind of, it's just slightly less angry basically, but the filter before it gets the resonance is slightly smoother in the late version. So one thing I would say is I really don't know why Korg just didn't include a switch and the lead and maybe a grommet on the front panel that you could choose to put it in or not, because I mean really it's that easy to do, but only if you've got someone who knows a little bit about electronics, in our case a lot, to actually make it happen. So it's a shame they didn't do that. So the next, probably the test we should do is just a quick A/B between the 2 MSs, because we've got my original MS20 here as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to patch the CV out from the keyboard of the old MS20, of the new MS20, and the trigger out, and plug those into the CV in and CV and trigger in of the old MS20. So I'll just get my lead. I've got some audio here. It's going to take a little while to set them up. The one thing I did find was tuning them was a bit of a laugh. I mean, this is very temperamental old lady, so it took quite a while, and it may not actually be in tune now, so we'll just check. Right, we'll get them set up about the same. So what you're hearing now is new MS20, old MS20, just for the record. So we'll do a bit of a filter, so let's going to be hard to do them both at the same time, but let's get up to high. We're in the early filter. We'll just go quickly, remind you what that sounds like. That's on the new MS20, and then we'll take the same sort of sound. Switch it to the late filter. I'm not sure actually, it sounds to me like I might possibly have the late filter model. It's sort of, I mean, it's very hard to match them exactly. Remember, the electronics in this are 30 years old, and you know, the calibration is slightly different. I end up with a bit more kind of resonance comes in earlier on the MS20 original than it does on the MS20 Kit, but they are very, very similar. I mean, obviously, you know, as we know, when I looked at the MS20 Mini, there are differences between the actual components because they can't put certain things in inside electronic equipment they sell to the public, certainly in the EU. In America, it's slightly different laws as well. So they've had to kind of substitute some things. So all in all, not bad. And the fact that this is a full-size MS20 sort of really does make you feel the love a little bit there, I must say. One thing I will say, if we just go here, I don't know if we can see here, I noticed that the legend on the patch panel, I don't know, it seems to be sort of just flaking off a little bit, which I was quite concerned about. And I don't think that doesn't happen on the old MS20, but on the new one, it's perhaps like the powder coating or the print on it is not quite as robust. It's probably a different manufacture process. And obviously, the thing is with putting in jacks and smashing, you know, you'll be hitting things against this panel more than you will on the left-hand side. That's going to wear off. I think you can find this for around about, I think it's $1,399. I don't know how many they've sold, but they did say they were going to make 1,000. And I think they're going to all be snapped up. Now, all it remains for me to do is to try and take this to pieces and put it back in the box. Wish me luck with that.